Welcome to Homeschool Teen Talk. I'm Barb Bideman.
And I'm Rick Bideman.
And we're here to finish our series on Homeschooling Middle School. This will be the third part of our three-part series.
So the first thing we want to talk about is something we alluded to in the first video, which is transitioning academics. And what we mean by that is two things. As we said in the first video, middle school is going over a lot of the material that happened in elementary school and maybe going into a little bit more depth. So it gives you the opportunity to do one of two things, maybe even a little bit of both. Number one, if there's areas that you feel like your student hasn't fully gotten what they need to be prepared for high school, you can reinforce those things. You can spend time going over the material in more depth, which is what is typically done in middle school. But the other thing you can do is if you feel like your student has mastered the elementary material in a certain subject, you can move forward and start getting some high school material done early.
Yeah, I like to think of middle school as that wonderful in-between time that seems so hard to define academically. It's a time where, as Rick said, you can move forward, or it's a time where you can stop and assess what you've completed in elementary school and what might need to be reinforced or what gaps you might need to fill. It's also, as he said, a time that you can move forward. And one of the things that is nice about middle school is that you can move forward at your own pace. So you can take 2 years to do a high school subject that would normally be completed in 1 year in high school. So if you're moving ahead and doing Algebra 1, maybe you're going to do Algebra 1 in 6th grade and 7th grade. So you don't have that rush to get through everything. You can take your time because you're moving ahead. You can also go a little bit deeper and explore subjects that your child is more interested in. Our son was involved in math competitions during middle school. In fact, both of them did math competitions. And that was something that they enjoyed and gave them a chance to go a little bit deeper in their math studies. You can also do field trips that are related to their interests. They can do academic camps, special classes or clubs, or as I mentioned, competitions. So you might need to make some choices because it's difficult sometimes to do all of these things. In our case, we had to choose between a speech and debate club and math competitions because there was just too much conflict in the times that there were events that we had to be at for each one of those. And so our son decided to focus on the math competitions and not participate in the speech and debate club after his first year because we could see they weren't going to work together. You also might want to take time to look at study skills or research skills, presentation skills. Those are all things that they're going to need as they move into high school. And you can start to work on those things in middle school so when they get to high school, they're not going to need as much time on those particular areas. And then you can look at life skills as well. Things that they might not have learned in elementary school. Maybe they need to learn how to do laundry. Maybe they need to learn how to handle money. Maybe you and your husband need to share with them a little bit about how your finances work in the family. Also, cooking skills are good to learn. Using tools and making repairs, cleaning, caring for younger siblings. This might also be a time to cover any sex education topics that you haven't had a chance to cover yet. And also health and nutrition are valuable things to learn about in middle school.
One final thing I wanted to mention before we leave this topic was probably one of the big struggles, if that's the right word, that we had with our older son was when we finished elementary school math and we were working through a pre-algebra curriculum, and it seemed like he was having trouble with it. And in talking with him, what we found was he just found it very boring because he felt like he already knew the material, and to just sit down and do it was taking him a really long time, and it wasn't any fun. And so that's when we figured out we needed to just move forward into what he actually didn't know instead of spending time going over things that he already had mastered. The next topic is the Pennsylvania homeschool law and how it applies to middle school.
Yes, because we are in Pennsylvania and the support group that we lead is a Pennsylvania support group, it's helpful to spend a little bit of time going over the law. So if you happen to be watching this and you're not from Pennsylvania, you can fast forward or bear with us for a few minutes as we do this part. So in Pennsylvania, our homeschool law is designed to describe what needs to be done during the elementary years and the secondary years. So the elementary years are grades 1 through 6, and the secondary years are grades 7 through 12. So middle school, if you consider middle school to be 6th grade through 8th grade, falls into both of those areas. So we're going to focus on the secondary level just because that's the new part of the law when you're in middle school. At the secondary level, the following courses shall be taught. English to include language, literature, speech, and composition, science, geography, social studies to include civics, world history, history of the United States, and Pennsylvania, mathematics to include general mathematics, algebra, and geometry, art, music, physical education, health, and safety education, including regular and continuous instruction in the dangers and prevention of fires. Such courses of study may include, at the discretion of the supervisor of the home education program, economics, biology, chemistry, foreign languages, trigonometry, or other age-appropriate courses as contained in Chapter 5, Curriculum Requirements of the State Board of Education. So that gives you an overview of the different subjects that need to be taught during the secondary level of homeschooling. So these are things that you can start covering in 7th grade, and you may choose to finish these in middle school, some of these in middle school, and not go back to them in high school. And that's okay. You need to make the choices that are going to be best for your homeschool situation. So the following are the minimum courses in grades 9 through 12 and are established as a requirement for graduation in a home education program. And as you can see, I'm reading this directly from the law. 4 years of English, 3 years of mathematics, 3 years of science, 3 years of social studies, 2 years of arts and humanities. So really the changes that we see when we move from elementary to secondary level would be that we drop spelling, and reading becomes literature, writing becomes composition, arithmetic becomes general mathematics. Otherwise, the subjects are pretty much the same at the secondary level as they are at the elementary level, with the addition of maybe some specific mathematics topics like algebra and geometry, things like that. So there's not really a huge difference from elementary to secondary as far as the law is concerned. You don't really need to keep track of credits in middle school, but you might want to start that transcript, as we said in the last video, in 8th grade, especially if you want to start dual enrollment at your local community college. As I said, ours allows students to begin in 9th grade, and actually they allowed our older son to start in 8th grade, so it is helpful to start keeping track of those things. But this is just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the law says in case you haven't had a chance to look at that, and the subjects that are listed there.
So the next topic is exploring passions, and this can be both in your academic work as well as in your extracurricular time. And sometimes exactly where the line is between those is hard to say. So as we've said in previous videos, you've probably gotten the impression our kids like math, they're good at math. And one of the things that seemed like it might be a good fit was robotics. For our older son, after trying robotics in a couple of different formats, he said, you know what, I don't really like this, which is sometimes a good thing to know as well. But our younger son has really enjoyed it, and so we've had a robotics team for the last 7 years that I helped start and coach. And so one thing I would say to you is, if you can't find opportunities for the things they're passionate about, maybe you could be part of making it happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. You also want to allow them to try lots of different things to determine what their interests are. And some suggestions might be to look into 4-H. We did 4-H when our children were in middle school. We just had a community club which allowed them to try lots of different projects within the 4-H curriculum. Scouting would be another option, different types of clubs or camps, and different types of competitions. In our area, there's a large science fair, history fair, there are math competitions, and our older son was very active in the Bible Bee competition. He enjoyed memorizing scripture. So give your children a chance to look into some of the different activities and topics that they might find interesting as they're in middle school, because that'll help them kind of narrow things down as they approach high school. Another thing you can do is just visit activities that are going on. Go and check out the robotics team and see what their competition is like. Go to a drama that some other homeschool students may be putting on that your child could possibly get involved in the future. See what that's like. Give your child a chance to be a spectator before they actually participate, so they can make those decisions. Also, you might want to think about sports, strategy games like chess, things like fishing. As we mentioned, our younger son enjoys Lego a lot. He also enjoys disc golf. So there are lots of different things that you can try. Kind of cast your net broad when they're in middle school, and give them lots of different types of opportunities so they can say yes to this and no to that. And it will provide you with some direction so that you can head towards their strengths and their interests when they're in high school.
And the final topic is spending time with friends. One of the great things about homeschooling is that your kids' peers are not necessarily their primary influence, but you do want them to have time to enjoy spending time with the friends that they do have. And you can be a part of that as well. It could be as simple as inviting people over to do an activity they like together, like having a game night. It can be something that even blends with academics. I've run a literary club for teenage kids, starting at age 12 in this case, for the last 10 years, and it's been a very enjoyable thing for both of our kids.
Right, and some children want to be more involved in social activities as they get into middle school, and some are more hesitant. So some children might enjoy doing things as a family with another family, whereas others might want something that's specifically for them. So maybe they want to be involved in a church youth group, or get involved in some other club or something that will be a place where they can make friends and enjoy building new relationships. And that might change throughout middle school too. So that's just something to be aware of. And you should continue as parents to be involved in your children's lives. You want to keep talking to them about their friends and their activities. You want to be around to know what's going on. You want to meet the children that they're involved with and the adults that they're involved with. So you really want to be there to show them that you care, and it's also helpful to be there for times when things might not be going well and to help them work through that too. So, and as Rick mentioned, he's been very involved throughout middle school in lots of different ways, and that has been really helpful, especially because we do have two sons, and they do enjoy learning from and becoming more like, in some ways, their father as they grow up. So this is the end of our series on homeschooling middle school. We're very appreciative that you've taken the time to watch this and to be with us. And we're very appreciative of the opportunity that we've had to homeschool our children together. Hopefully, we will be maybe making a few more videos in the future. We'll see how well this is received, and we will possibly be back with some other topics related to homeschooling. Thank you again.
Thanks for watching.